Hello and welcome to Elephant Power Productions. I'm American Elephant, call me Kevin, and this is Kev Talks, a series where I talk about what I want to talk about. October 31st has arrived, so first off, happy Halloween. And second, I want to talk about a film that was originally meant to be
the first scary MCU film,
but ended up something very different in the end. After all the behind-the-scenes trouble this film faced, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness came out as one of the most divisive MCU films to date, which can be seen as saying a lot. If you love it, I get it. If you hate it, I also get it. But even those who defend it tend to agree there's just something off about it. Me personally, I like it fine. I don't think it is a masterpiece at all, nor do I like it anywhere near as much as the first film, but it has its moments, and unlike a lot of Phase 4, I'll go out of my way to rewatch it sometimes. Despite this though, I do have some issues, and sadly they're bigger than a few bad effects. The writing gets very sloppy, especially in relation to the poorly defined magic system. As said by many, for a film with this title, I don't think the movie gets mad enough with the multiverse, because the only universes where any meaningful time is spent are Earth 1999-99, this dying one, and whatever we call this, instead of these much more interesting looking worlds. Plus, while I really enjoy Strange in this film, and I like that they took a big risk with Scarlet Witch as the villain, I have weaker or more negative feelings towards the other characters. I like America Chavez, but I agree that she becomes more of a plot device as the film continues, even if I really love the visuals for her powers and her big payoff. I like Wong, but less than last time. Hell, I think I like him more on She-Hulk, and there he's written into being a criminal because of the writing clashing with his completely pointless Shang-Chi cameos. The Illuminati portion of the film was not only better in the comics that I've now read and own in person in fact, but feels more artificially done the more I rewatch it. I should like the Illuminati in theory, but outside of kinda looking cool, I only really liked Black Bolt, and the one it feels like I should have cared about comes from one of, in my opinion, the biggest disappointments in Phase 4, while probably not even being that version of this character. The other Christine is good, but she didn't leave as big an impact on me this time, and I know this because in my first draft, I forgot to even mention her. Wong also has a love interest, whose name I can't remember, that dies before she can even have a character, beyond being a brave bad bitch, I guess. But at least she does something important for the plot, unlike this CGI Minotaur guy called Rinthra, who was clearly supposed to have a bigger role in the film's original scripts.
What is that?
But instead has no explanation as to where the hell he came from, while being a complete waste of VFX for a creature that gets maybe 10 words in the film. Oh my god, I might actually be right. His top quote on the wiki is literally 10 words exactly. I can't even remember if he has any other lines in the film. Oh my god. And ends up more irrelevant than the background creatures of Quantum Mania, because at least they helped fight Kang in that mess's climax. And lastly, there's Mordo. Except not really. This is Master Mordo, a variant of Carl Mordo from the first film that Strange and America meet early on in this one. But before we discuss that guy, let's talk about the other Mordo and why I think he works so well to explain why the other, well, you'll see. When first introduced in the film, Mordo stops robbers from attacking Stephen Strange, a now broken man who's thrown away everything to repair the nerves in his once helpful hands. He had been following him previously and offers to take him to Camartage, the location Stephen seeks after being told he might be able to heal him by a once crippled man named Jonathan Pangborn. When first arriving, Mordo clarifies that Strange's worldview is about to change in ways he is not ready for, understanding his quote-unquote disrespectfulness, but making one thing very clear.
Forget everything you think you know.
When acquainted with the Ancient One, Mordo's wise superior, Stephen learns quickly the secret of Camartage. It is inhabited by sorcerers harnessing interdimensional energy into magic. But when he wants to learn more, he is quickly cast out. However, several hours later, Mordo makes a case for his strength that the Ancient One argues against. Her intent being to not take in and lose another gifted student as she did with the film's villain, Caecilius. In response to this, he hints at a past we do not see by the film's end, but one which strengthens what's to come, and informs us of his views.
You didn't lose me. I wanted the power to defeat my enemies. You gave me the power to defeat my demons, and to live within the natural law.
After his superior tells, or perhaps reminds him, that we never truly lose our demons, Mordo continues arguing that a man of Strange's talents could be what they need to stop Caecilius and his zealots from endangering the world. And it ultimately works out for Steven.
Welcome to the Gulag.
As Strange trains at Camartage, his skills escalate at an alarming rate, as does his willingness to question the Ancient One. While training, Chiwetel's dialogue tells us how Mordo admires and respects her.
I know she's steadfast, but unpredictable. Merciless yet kind. She made me what I am.
The two spar, and we see Mordo's hand-to-hand combat capabilities, along with him being careful about which way he guides Strange's curiosity.
Trust your teacher, and don't lose your way.
A message hammered in by him explaining Caecilius' history and keywords, guiding what Strange wonders away from too much questioning that could lead to dangerous mistrust. Combat training follows after, and Strange conjuring sparking finger whips that now remind me of the restraints he tried healing his hands with, allows us to see Mordo immediately snap into an offensive mode, attacking fast and pushing Strange to truly
fight like your life depended on it!
Because one day, it may.
Later, Steven unknowingly trains with one of the Infinity Stones inside the Eye of Agamotto, because Wong is shit at his job, and almost causes some kind of something. It's a little unclear, but visually I think it's meant to parallel the malleable, dangerous potential of the mirror dimension, or perhaps the hazy glass-like blades of Caecilius and his zealots. Mordo and Wong confront him about it, with the former immediately hammering in that he's messing with the forbidden power of time itself.
Temporal manipulations can create branches in time, unstable dimensional openings, spatial paradoxes, time loops. You want to get stuck reliving the same moment over and over forever, or never having existed at all?
Strange's questioning gets him and Wong to finally open up about what the Sorcerers of Camartage do, highlighting their sanctum stopping the dark dimensional threat of Dormammu. Unfortunately, an attack separates them from Strange, and when they reunite, he has already defeated two of Caecilius' zealots in New York, but also talked to Caecilius, learned what he desires, and figured out something about his teacher's immortality.
She draws power from the dark dimension to stay alive.
That's not true.
A claim the Ancient One pushes past, much to Mordo's confusion. Then a criminally underrated argument about what must be done in the face of the greater good takes place in the aftermath, embodying Strange and Mordo's characterization perfectly into the script and dialogue. In its execution, it shows us that despite his noble intentions, Mordo is far more okay with killing than Steven is. Steven, as a doctor, values human life, despite his arrogance and fear.
When I became a doctor, I swore an oath to do no harm, and I have just killed a man. I'm not doing that again.
Something that may or may not be strengthened by the oddly brief retcon that he watched his sister die when he was a child, according to Multiverse of Madness. Meanwhile, Mordo spells out his thoughts with a beautifully blunt delivery, grilling Steven for what he sees as cowardice, insulted by the accusations against the woman who, if I'm interpreting his dialogue correctly, seemingly helped him out of an implied hell.
You've no idea the things I've done. And the answer is yes. Without hesitation.
You lack imagination.
No, Stephen. You lack a spine.
But Mordo's defensive position and worldview gets challenged, however, because during action shortly after, the truth is out. The Ancient One does use the Dark Dimension's power, and she dies after this reveal. Before the climax, he stands in the Sanctum Door ruins back at Camartage, his mind as cracked as the rubble at his feet. Everything he knew about someone he looked so proudly up to has now been warped.
She taught us it was forbidden, while she drew on its power to steal centuries of life.
Steven tries to argue in favor of her, but Mordo's done being on her side, blaming her hypocrisy called out by Caecilius for all of this.
The bill comes due. And here we are, in the consequence of her deception.
But although he's distraught, Steven reinvigorates him enough to do the right thing. His problems are far from solved, but he puts them aside for the greater good, to join Strange against the Zealots and save the world. Something that Steven does beautifully in a perfect conclusion to his arc, out of arrogance and into selflessness.
Set me free!
No, I've come to bargain.
But even then, when the damage is undone, and the dust was never there to settle to begin with, the tables get turned.
Yes. Yes, we did it. By also violating the natural law.
Because in saving the world, Steven warped time with the Eye of Agamotto, and as Mordo hinted at long before any of the nonsense we'd see in Loki, messing with time like that does not come without danger, showing Mordo is very strict about his standards and that he'll hold them to his allies.
We broke our rules just like her. The bill comes due. Always.
Though he shows no hostile intent at that moment, he decides that this path is no longer one he can follow. And in an after-credits scene, we see him visit Jonathan Pangborn, the man that inspired Strange to go down this path. During the Ancient One's final talk with Strange, she explained that Pangborn uses dimensional energy channeled into his body to walk constantly, and turned down the higher purpose Steven accepted. In other words, he technically uses magic selfishly, twisting natural forces out of shape, something Mordo now sees as a problem, as he takes what to him is not a gift, but stolen power, ending the movie on a warning, one insinuating that Mordo may be the reckoning he warned Steven about beforehand.
Because I see at long last what's wrong with the world. Too many sorcerers.
In case it wasn't obvious, I love Chiwetel Ejiofor's Mordo. I find his character to be a highlight in this film. His consistency in his beliefs is what makes his motivation so strong, and his actions strengthen those beliefs in execution. What we don't know about him or his past only makes me more interested in what we do know about him. And as my love for this film only grew with every rewatch, my love of his character deepened with it. So, when Kevin Feige announced Multiverse of Madness was happening, I was getting hyped.
Come the sequel! Let's go!
I was very interested to see what would happen with this one, especially after Scott Derrickson, who before this film was and still is a horror director, stated that the goal was again to make
The first scary MCU film.
Then the trailers confirmed Mordo was back, and I got even more pumped. Truth be told, when I first saw this new look in an action figure, I didn't see his name and thought it was the comic character Dr. Voodoo at first because it was just so different. So the realization that it was Mordo after I watched the teaser at the end of No Way Home was so much fun. I began waiting for the sequel to one of my favorite comic book movies and just movies in general because I fucking love this film. I waited for the possibilities of what could be done with Mordo's mission, and I was hyped as hell to see him return. And I'm still waiting.
Can I get a selfie with you? Totally.
I'm not even in it.
Alright. My disappointment aside, this idea of a Mordo variant could still work out and be done well. A different take on the character that could add a new perspective to the one we know, while fitting with Multiverse of Madness' themes about considering other lives for ourselves in the infinite, dangerous, beautiful expanse of the multiverse. Especially after that kind of storytelling gave us Across the Spider-Verse and the best episode of What If. So with his backstory fresh in our minds and a new variant ready to go, how does Strange describe his old ally when briefly explaining him to Chavez?
You know?
Yeah, Mordo. He's actually the first guy who let me in the Comertage.
Okay, so far so good.
Oh, great.
And then he snapped and dedicated his life to trying to kill me.
Wait, what?
And then he snapped and dedicated his life to trying to kill me.
Okay. So not using the original version of this character with great potential and setup is already a weird decision, but to then get his entire newfound motivation wrong is equally weird. Like, what? Mordo didn't try to kill Strange. He didn't even really snap. He stepped away from Comertage and its people because someone he trusted enough to dedicate his life to turned out to be hypocritical with her teachings in a way that betrayed what he believed in. Yes, Mordo was disappointed in Strange for breaking the rules with the Time Stone, but he wasn't malicious about it then. He just stated he wasn't okay with this and left without fighting anyone. Literally, all you had to do to fix this was have Strange say a more fitting line, like, and then he became a thief, stealing magic from other sorcerers. But hey, that's just one line, and we've still got a lot to discuss, so let's keep going. Master Mordo welcomes Strange in America, even calling Strange his brother, showing they were closer in this universe, and explains the danger Wanda's dreamwalking poses to the multiverse.
Greetings, traveler, and welcome back to my shop. We got cheese. We got meat. Do you come?
But in the end, he drugs and takes them to the Illuminati. At this group's compound, we learn that apparently Strange is a dangerous risk to this universe and many others, because their variant of Strange, while presented as a hero to the public, caused the destruction of another universe. The Illuminati then have to go fight Wanda when she breaches their building, and Strange tries to trick Mordo into accidentally freeing him so he can go help Chavez. But this is where the film, in my opinion, truly wastes Mordo, fully showcasing why I don't think that Michael Waldron fully understood his character.
You know you hated me where I came from, and I bet secretly, my brother, you hated me here.
Okay, to be fair, Earth 1999-9 Mordo did look at Strange as a coward, but hate? I'll buy it for now, but it feels weird to hear.
You must have been so jealous. I bet you were thrilled when you heard I'd been corrupted. Hell, you probably gave me the Darkhold to begin with.
Strange, why would you think that this Mordo would have done that? Again, when Mordo was tougher on Strange, it was just a different worldview, not hatred. If you're just making up stuff to piss Mordo off, fine, I get that. But you're saying this as if you know it's going to work on this version, but how?
You know nothing of this universe.
I know! The killing Stephen Strange was your ticket to getting the Sanctum.
Right. What?
To becoming Sorcerer Supreme.
Him being loyal to the Ancient One wasn't because he wanted her position. He proves it isn't by leaving at the end of the first film. Mordo was willing to leave this life and the previous Sorcerer Supreme behind because they went against his beliefs, and while he still cares about bringing order to magic, he clearly puts more value in said beliefs and how it dictates that power's use. Yes, I know this is meant to be a different take on Mordo, and I'm not saying this one couldn't have done that, but Strange is making this Sanctum assumption based on his Mordo's behavior, so I have to ask Steven, what on this Earth or yours makes you think Mordo ever wanted a Sanctum and a shifting title? And before you say, well, this and the stuff from earlier was clearly referring to stuff that happened between the first film and Infinity War, well then, we should get to see that period. We should get to see something. Anything showcasing why he has this new motive. Hell, we should get to see why he and this other Strange were close. Would certainly make their connection feel a lot stronger.
And to joining a little circus of clowns, the Illuminati.
I'm ready to cast my vote.
This whole exchange just felt forced to me. A cheap shot at wedging in conflict between these two just for a fight to ensue. Speaking of which, one does, and Strange escapes to save America. The prior scene was already an odd way to look at Mordo's character and Steven's opinion of him, but to make matters worse, the rather brief, underwhelming fight after just kinda ends, and these are the last words the Master gets in this film.
I think I'm beginning to understand why your Mordo didn't like you very much.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all we get. Not a single appearance from the original Mordo, and barely 10 minutes worth of footage with this one. After all that buildup for such a great side character, this is how you use him? You had perfect setup for a sequel antagonist, and if not that, you had a new variant of Mordo that could keep Strange on his toes with his differences from the other, while putting a version of a guy who views sorcerers as dangerous in a film about how dangerous Strange can be if left unchecked, along with the danger that is the Scarlet Witch, and this is all they came up with? What a joke! And the even more frustrating part is this conversation, with a few tweaks, could have been so much better. I'm not saying it would fix his role in the movie, but here, let's try a new version of the scene I wrote/rewrote with similar dialogue, only now with a tweaked focus that calls back to previous material while expanding upon Strange's thoughts about newer material. They're not coming back, and you just cast your vote now to kill your friends. Then again, of course you're standing by during all this. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know you. You know nothing about me. Well, I know you called me a coward once for killing, which went against what I believed. Yeah, you did that on my Earth. Oh, but that was okay for you to do when you turned your back on your teacher after she died saving us, wasn't it? Silence. But even when she did what she had to, like you apparently went off to do, you betrayed the Ancient One after you saw one skeleton in her closet. Because you didn't like to think in grays. No, you were always Mr. Black and White, no rules broken, even if it meant saving lives. How dare you? I do not always like the decisions I have to make, but everything I do is done with the fate of those from my universe in mind. Yeah, but something tells me that when they said to kill me, you bent over backwards for these clowns because it just had to happen, right? It nearly killed me to let them destroy you! And I knew you never intended for that incursion to occur, but by then the damage had been done! More than trillions were dead! We had to do something! There was no other way! I thought that too once when I bet on a man to save us. But it had consequences I should have considered, and yet I was convinced it was the one way to save everything, despite the millions of possibilities I saw. And you know what? I'm starting to regret it. Because if there's anything I've learned ever since we met, it's that there's always another way. Because if that wasn't true, then I'd still care about these more than that poor girl right now. If you truly believe that, then you are the embodiment of spineless. Because unlike you, my brother was brave enough to face his fate. Well, at least I have imagination. And don't let my loved ones die without putting up a fight like you, brother. And here I was, wondering why the Ancient One only said goodbye to me. Enough! Upon further consideration, I am more than ready to cast my vote now. Then begin a preferably more interesting fight. Of course, everything I just said is longer than what we got, so we'd probably have to intercut it with this fight to make it fit better. But personally, I find a discussion around what Strange and Mordo thought of each other's actual defined worldviews far more interesting than Strange just going, I bet you're a dick because you always were, until Mordo tries to kill him, even though his Mordo was never fully like that.
I thought you were bae.
I'm gonna kill you!
It all just disappoints me. The variant idea wasn't inherently bad, and I wanted to like it because, on top of Master Mordo's immaculate drip, their conflict from the first film about sacrificing people for the greater good is literally on display here with America Chavez. Hell, Wanda makes that argument, and could you imagine how much more interesting this film would be if it discussed that? How Mordo is literally agreeing with the same kind of person he would want to destroy at this point in his life? And this time, instead of it being an evil wizard money gang, it's a kid who can't control her powers. It makes the conflict much more interesting and could say so much about Mordo. But instead, like a lot of other interesting yet underdeveloped or unexplored shit in Phase 4, it feels like they just saw all that potential and said,
okay, now that the fish is almost ready to go, let's take the pan right here and put it down in the stove. We ain't using this shit. Now what you want to do is plug in the George Foreman grill.
And the sad thing is, while he's out of the film, we're not even done yet.
Wait for him. He can never taste true eternal life, but you will.
As evident by the director's shift and COVID delays, Multiverse of Madness underwent many changes. In May of 2022 specifically, it was revealed that there was one deleted scene of Mordo fighting Scarlet Witch in the opening. And later, during her attack on Kamar-Taj, she would reveal that she murdered him by showing his severed head. Okay. Granted, the character writing in this scenario is much more appreciated because it makes sense that this Mordo would go attack Wanda after her actions in Westview. But at the same time, had this happened, it probably could have been just as bad as what we got because it's killing off an idea that hasn't had time to shine at all.
Come on! Now oh no!
This info kind of makes me wonder if Sam Raimi or Michael Waldron either didn't care about Mordo or maybe even disliked him. Now, to be fair, it was also revealed that Wong was slated to die too, in a pretty gory manner, by the way. I mean, look at this.
Jesus Christ!
That's just fucking excessive, bruh.
So this could just be another instance of Raimi trying to do his horror shit. Or maybe even Scott Derrickson in light of recent news. And I know this film's script was probably hell to work on, because if Sachiel Gomez is to be believed, Waldron apparently had to do 33 rewrites!
Damn!
Clearly this was no easy task, and likely had a lot of studio interference. So I don't want to act like these two definitively hated him and state it as some factual thing I can prove. Not at all. But with that said, I also wouldn't blame people who don't know this behind the scenes trouble asking if they even tried with Mordo's character.
We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
So, now what? Well, a third Doctor Strange film is apparently happening, and I am curious to see what the Darkhold's toll will be as Clea takes Strange to the Dark Dimension, but at the same time, I have no idea if Mordo is even on the table as a card anymore.
I will make hat from you, little bunny.
If Ant-Man's last film won't even mention Louise, it's possible that they may just forget about him to set up more multiverse shit. It's hard to say nowadays. Again, I don't hate this movie at all, and there are aspects of it I adore. I mean, Dead Strange?
This time it's gonna take more than killing me to kill me.
Yes! 10 out of 10, it's a yes for me! It's a yes!
It's just that Master Mordo, sadly, isn't one of them. I think he was done very poorly and could have gotten so much more because he deserves another story. But then again, how could he ever get one here when he ended up never fully being here to begin with? Alright, that's gonna do it for today's video. I'm American Elephant, call me Kevin. Thanks for stopping by Elephant Power Productions. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Have a safe, happy Halloween, and I'll see you all on the next episode of Kev Talks. Take care, beware, and Manla and Lovu to all of you.
The major theme of Lovecraftian horror is hopelessness, insignificance, how tiny and unimportant we are in the grand scheme of things, and how, inevitably, we will be destroyed or consumed or turned into mindless slaves by beings that we can't even begin to comprehend. I believe in hope. I believe there's always a solution, always a way to beat the bad guys. But these outer gods, these things, exist to tell us that no, there is no way to beat things in the end, and I cannot abide that! All the people we love, all the things we do in life, everything that makes life worth living, it's significant, goddammit! We are all important! Everything we do is so goddamn important! I beat the entity by tricking it. By convincing it that life was meaningless, and I sure as hell don't believe that! But if the entity is still alive, or if someone like Vice becomes it, then we're doomed. Because there's nothing else that we can do. And the same despair that killed it will kill us. And I will not let that happen. If the entity is alive, or if Vice becomes it, then I am gonna be the one to shove a sword through its face, just so I can get up close enough to scream in their ear that we are important! Every one of us is important! Every one of us is important. and I'll do whatever I have to save us all.
Is that Gabe? Come on, not every dude with a beard.
Hi, this is Gabe.